The first sign that something was wrong came 6 months before the diagnosis, though neither of them recognized it at the time. Yang Mei Mei was tired, more tired than usual, the kind of exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. She dismissed it as work, as parenting, as the normal fatigue of a busy life. She kept going, kept pushing, kept pretending that everything was fine because that's what she had always done. The second sign came 3 months later. She was filming a scene that required physical exertion, nothing too demanding, nothing she hadn't done 100 times before. But halfway through, she felt something strange, a weakness in her muscles that made it hard to continue. She finished the scene, smiled through it, told herself it was nothing. But that night, she mentioned it to Yulong, casually, as if it didn't matter. He noticed the concern in her voice, the way she tried to hide it, and he made a mental note to pay attention. The weeks that followed brought more symptoms. Fatigue that worsened instead of improving. Joint pain that came and went without pattern. A low-grade fever that persisted despite everything she tried. She saw a doctor, then another, then another. Each one ran tests, offered theories, prescribed treatments that didn't work. The symptoms continued, sometimes better, sometimes worse, always present in the background of her life. Yulong watched her struggle with growing concern. He saw her push through exhaustion to care for their daughter, saw her smile through pain during public appearances, saw her hide her suffering from everyone except him. He wanted to fix it, to make it better, to do something, anything that would help. But there was nothing to fix yet, no diagnosis to fight, no enemy to battle. Just a collection of symptoms that no one could explain. The breaking point came on a Wednesday afternoon. Yang Mei Mei was at home with their daughter when her legs suddenly gave out. She didn't fall, caught herself on the counter, but the moment terrified her in ways she couldn't explain. She called Yulong immediately, her voice shaking, and told him what had happened. He was home within 20 minutes, canceling everything, ignoring everyone, moving on instinct alone. He took her to the hospital that day, refused to leave her side, held her hand through every test and procedure. They ran blood work, did scans, consulted specialists. The process took hours, then days, then stretched into a week of waiting and wondering and trying not to imagine the worst. Their daughter stayed with Yulong's parents, confused about why Mama was gone, why things were different, why no one could explain what was happening. When the results finally came, when the doctor called them into his office and asked them to sit down, Yulong knew. He knew before the doctor spoke, knew from the expression on his face, knew from the way Yang Mei Mei's hand tightened in his. He knew that whatever was coming would change everything. The doctor was kind, professional, but the words he spoke were devastating regardless of how gently they were delivered. Yang Mei Mei had an autoimmune condition, rare and serious, one that required immediate and aggressive treatment. The condition caused her body to attack itself, to turn its own defenses against its systems, to slowly break down from the inside. There was no cure, only management. There was no guarantee, only hope. The treatment would be grueling, months of medication with difficult side effects, regular hospital visits, periods of weakness that would leave her unable to work or care for their daughter. The prognosis was uncertain. Some patients responded well and went into remission. Others fought for years without ever fully recovering. There was no way to know which path she would follow. Yulong heard the words but couldn't process them. They bounced around his brain without landing, without making sense, without forming the coherent meaning that would allow him to understand what was happening. He looked at Yang Mei Mei, at her pale face and steady eyes, at the way she nodded along as if the doctor was discussing something ordinary, something manageable. He wanted to be strong for her, wanted to hold her hand and tell her it would be okay, wanted to be the rock she needed in that moment. But when he opened his mouth to speak, nothing came out. Just air. Just silence. Just the overwhelming weight of everything he couldn't say. Yang Mei Mei squeezed his hand, a small gesture of comfort even as her own world was collapsing. She asked the doctor questions, practical questions about treatment and timeline and what to expect. She took notes, gathered information, prepared to fight. She was calm in a way that seemed almost inhuman, calm in a way that would later break Yulong's heart when he realized she was holding it together for him, for their daughter, for everyone except herself. The drive home was silent. They held hands across the center console, neither speaking, neither knowing what to say. When they finally walked through their front door, when they were finally alone in the space that had always felt safe, Yang Mei Mei collapsed. Not physically, not dramatically, just emotionally. She sat on the sofa, stared at nothing, and let the tears come. Silent at first, then with sounds that broke Yulong's heart into pieces he would spend years trying to put back together. He sat beside her, wrapped his arms around her, and held her while she cried. He didn't speak, didn't try to comfort with words, just held her and let her feel everything she needed to feel. They stayed like that for a long time, two people holding each other in the wreckage of their shattered expectations, trying to find solid ground in a world that had suddenly become unstable. When the tears finally subsided, when Yang Mei Mei had cried herself into exhaustion, Yulong carried her to their bedroom and tucked her into bed. She was asleep within minutes, her body finally surrendering to the exhaustion she had been fighting for months. He stood in the doorway, watching her sleep, and felt the tears come for himself. He walked to their daughter's room. Empty now, the bed made, the toys neatly arranged. He sat on the floor, leaned against the wall, and let himself break. The sobs came from somewhere deep, somewhere primal, somewhere that had never been accessed before. He cried for Yang Mei Mei, for the pain she would endure, for the strength she would need. He cried for their daughter, for the childhood that might be shadowed by illness, for the memories they might not get to make. He cried for himself, for the fear of losing her, for the helplessness of watching someone suffer without being able to fix it. He cried until there were no tears left, until he was empty and hollow, and somehow still breathing. Then he got up, washed his face, and went back to their bedroom. He climbed into bed beside her, wrapped his arms around her, and held her through the night. He didn't sleep. Yulong drove her to every appointment, sat through every procedure, held her hand during every difficult moment. He learned the names of all her doctors, the schedules of all her treatments, the side effects of all her medications. He became an expert in her condition, researching constantly, asking questions, advocating for the best possible care. He was determined that if he couldn't cure her, he would at least make sure she had everything she needed to fight. Yang Mei Mei watched him through all of this, watched him pour himself out for her, watched him sacrifice everything to keep their family together. She saw the circles under his eyes, the weight he had lost, the strain he tried so hard to hide. She saw him with their daughter, playing the role of both parents, giving their child the love and attention she needed even when he had nothing left to give. And she loved him more in those dark months than she had ever loved him before, loved him with a depth that surprised even her. There were moments when hope felt impossible. Moments when the treatments seemed to be doing more harm than good, when Yang Mei Mei was so weak she could barely lift her head, when the future stretched before them like an endless tunnel with no light at the end. In those moments, they held each other and cried together, and then they got up and kept fighting. Because what else could they do? Giving up wasn't an option. Not when they had each other. Not when they had their daughter. Not when there was still a chance, however small, that things could get better. Their daughter adapted to the new reality in the way children do, with resilience and confusion in equal measure. She learned to play quietly so she wouldn't disturb Mama's rest. She learned to bring her toys to Mama's bed, to sit beside her and show her things, to accept that Mama couldn't always respond the way she used to. She learned that Dada was tired all the time now, that he didn't have as much energy for play, that he needed her to be a little more independent. She adapted because she had no choice, and her adaptability broke her parents' hearts even as it saved them. Yulong's breaking point came 3 months into the treatment. He was alone, finally alone for the first time in weeks, sitting in the hospital cafeteria while Yang Mei Mei underwent another procedure. He had a cup of coffee in front of him that he hadn't touched, a phone full of messages he hadn't answered, and a weight on his shoulders that he wasn't sure he could carry anymore. And for the first time since this nightmare began, he let himself feel the full weight of what was happening. He thought about their first meeting, about that convenience store at 2 a.m, about the instant noodles and the tears, and the way she had looked at him like he was someone worth knowing. He thought about their secret marriage, their hidden daughter, their years of fighting to protect what they had built. He thought about all the plans they had made, the future they had imagined, the dreams they had shared. And he thought about losing it all, about the possibility that she might not make it, about the hole her absence would leave in his life. He cried in that cafeteria, quietly, privately, hiding his face behind his hands so no one would see. He cried for everything they had already lost and everything they might still lose. He cried because he was tired and scared and overwhelmed. He cried because he loved her so much that the thought of life without her was unbearable. He cried until there were no tears left, until he was empty and hollow, and somehow still standing. When Yang Mei Mei's procedure was over, when he walked back into her room and saw her pale face and tired eyes, he didn't tell her about his breakdown. He didn't need to. She looked at him, really looked at him, and she knew. She reached for his hand, pulled him close, and whispered, "I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm not going anywhere." And somehow, impossibly, those simple words gave him strength to keep going. The months continued, each one bringing new challenges and small victories. There were setbacks, moments when the treatment seemed to fail, when hope flickered dangerously low. But there were also signs of progress, small improvements that added up over time. A day when Yang Mei Mei had enough energy to sit up for an hour. A week when she could eat without nausea. A morning when she walked to the bathroom without help. Each small victory was celebrated like a major triumph. Each step forward a reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, they were winning. Their daughter turned 2 during this time, a milestone that Yang Mei Mei was determined to celebrate despite her limitations. They had a small party at home, just the 3 of them, with cake and candles and presents wrapped in paper their daughter immediately destroyed. Yang Mei Mei couldn't do much, couldn't run and play, but she could sit and watch, could smile and clap, could be present for her child in the way that mattered most. Their daughter didn't notice what her mother couldn't do. She only noticed that Mama was there, that Mama was smiling, that Mama loved her. And that was enough. The turning point came 8 months after the diagnosis. Yang Mei Mei had another round of tests, the same tests that had revealed the condition in the first place. Yu Long sat in the waiting room, holding her hand, trying not to hope too much, trying to prepare for any outcome. When the doctor finally appeared, when he sat down with them and opened the file, Yu Long's heart stopped. The results showed significant improvement. The treatment was working. Her body was responding. The markers that had been so concerning were now trending toward normal. It wasn't a cure, not yet, not guaranteed. But it was progress, real progress, the kind that gave them reason to believe that she might actually beat this thing. Yang Mei Mei cried, and Yu Long cried with her, and they held each other in that sterile hospital room while the doctor discreetly excused himself. They cried for the relief, for the hope, for the months of fear that had finally started to lift. They cried for their daughter, for the future that suddenly seemed possible again. They cried because they had made it through the darkest valley and were finally seeing light on the other side. The recovery was slow, slower than either of them wanted. Yang Mei Mei continued treatment, continued fighting, continued working toward full health. But she was stronger now, more energetic, more able to participate in her own life. She could play with their daughter again, could cook meals with Yu Long again, could start thinking about returning to work. The shadow that had hung over their family for so long was finally starting to recede. Yu Long slowly began to recover too, though in different ways. He had spent months running on adrenaline, pushing through exhaustion, holding everything together by sheer force of will. When the immediate crisis passed, when the constant fear began to ease, he crashed. He slept for days, caught up on months of rest, let his body and mind finally heal from the trauma they had endured. Yang Mei Mei took care of him the way he had taken care of her, returning the love and support that had sustained her through the worst. Today, years after that terrifying diagnosis, Yang Mei Mei is healthy. The condition is managed, under control, no longer the threat it once was. She still has regular checkups, still takes medication, still lives with the awareness that things could change. But she also lives fully, gratefully, making the most of every day that she's given. She works, she parents, she loves. She lives with an appreciation for ordinary moments that only comes from facing the possibility of losing them. Yu Long is different too, changed by the experience in ways that are hard to articulate. He appreciates her more, obviously, but it's more than that. He appreciates everything more. The small moments, the ordinary days, the simple pleasure of sitting together on the sofa watching television. He doesn't take anything for granted anymore, doesn't assume that tomorrow will look like today, doesn't waste energy on things that don't matter. He knows now, really knows, that life can change in an instant, and he holds on to every good moment like the precious gift it is. Their daughter is older now, old enough to understand some of what happened. They've started telling her the story, gently, carefully.